Okay, good evening, everyone. It is 6:30, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. Our January 24th meeting of the Fillmore City Council. First, I'd like to make a notice about meeting attendance. So tonight, Councilmember Garola will be with us via teleconference. And he, as part of our public notice, we must say that he is attending the meeting via phone from the Fairmont Hotel at 101 Red River Street, Austin, Texas, in the second floor business center. And the meeting agenda has been posted at this location 24 hours beforehand. And any interested member of the public may join Councilmember Garola at this location for the meeting. And also, that being said, that we have Councilmember Garola via teleconference, all of our votes will be roll call votes. So you'll just notice that we will have each of us vote on our motion items. Okay, with that, we'll stand for the pledge. Councilmember Mendes will lead us in the pledge. Okay, thank you very much. And we will ask Shannon to do a roll call. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Cristina Villaseñor.
Here.
Councilmember Albert Mendez.
Here.
Councilmember Carrie Brogy.
Here.
Councilmember Chris Garola.
Here.
And Mayor Mark Austin is absent at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is an approval of the agenda. Do we have any questions, council members? Can I get approval?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, can I get a roll call vote?
Mayor Pro Tem Villaseñor.
Yes.
Councilmember Mendez.
Here.
Yes. Councilmember Brogy.
Yes.
Councilmember Garola.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Agenda is approved. The next item on our agenda is our first presentation, and this is our new Fillmore Police Chief introductions of Eduardo Lalo Malagon. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Manager, and residents of Fillmore. My name is John Riley. I'm your new Undersheriff of Ventura County, and before I introduce your new police chief, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself and make myself available. I've been your Undersheriff for 22 days. So we're learning too. But anyway, my last 3 jobs, I oversaw the crime lab. I supervised our East County police services from Camarillo to the LA County line. And before that, I was the chief of police in Moore Park for 3.5 years. So I sat in many city council meetings. But anyway, tonight I wanted to introduce your new police chief. And I do want to say that, especially in the sheriff's department, our best and brightest captains become our chiefs of police in our contract cities, and there's no exception with who I'm going to introduce tonight. With honor, I'm going to introduce Captain Eduardo Lalo Malagon. He's a 23-year veteran of the Ventura County Sheriff's Office and a lifelong Ventura County resident. Lalo began his career with the Sheriff's Office in 2000, where he worked assignments as a cadet and a Sheriff's Service technician. After graduating the academy in 2003, Lalo worked a variety of assignments, including detention services, patrol services, special enforcement unit, sheriff's gang unit, and special crimes unit intelligence unit. Lalo served as a supervisor in our court services bureau, narcotics unit, sheriff's gang unit, and as a patrol services watch commander. His collateral assignments have included the tactical response team, SWAT team operator and supervisor, and he's currently enrolled at California Coast University, where he is completing his bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Lalo is married to his wife Carla of 20 years, and they are raising 4 children. And like I said, he's one of our best. With that, I'd like to introduce Lalo Malagon.
Thank you, Under Sheriff Riley, for that introduction, and good evening to City Council members, City Manager, and City staff. I think he stole my thunder. He spoke about everything I was gonna say, but I'll keep it short because I know there's a long agenda tonight. So, first and foremost, I'd like to say that I'm extremely thankful. I'm happy to be here, and I am humbled at the opportunity that the city manager, his staff, and our sheriff's office executive staff and our sheriff Fry have taken me and given me this opportunity. I'm excited to be here, and I can't wait to get started. As your chief, I can assure you that I'll communicate, I'll collaborate, and I'll work closely with all the stakeholders here to make law enforcement a priority here in this city. Not only will I listen to your guys' concerns, but I will work collaboratively with all the stakeholders here to find solutions to those problems. We can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. You know that saying, it takes a village, and that's what it's about. I can assure you that I'll do everything that I can to help improve quality of life here in the city of Fillmore, and I appreciate you guys having me. With that said, if you guys are interested, next week, February 1st, is I'm hosting our first Coffee with the Chief event at the local Starbucks here between 8 and 9, so come by and have a cup of coffee and a conversation. We'll be happy to have you, and we can answer any questions you guys have, and just, like I said, have a friendly conversation. Briefly, in Spanish, for those that are here that don't, los que están aquí que no hablan español, mi nombre es Eduardo Malagón, estoy muy contento y agradecido por estar aquí con ustedes, y muy agradecido por la oportunidad que me dio el alguacil Freihoff y el City Manager por estar aquí con ustedes. Como jefe de policía voy a asegurarles que voy a comunicar con ustedes y voy a hacer todo lo posible para trabajar duro y hacer las cosas mejor aquí en la ciudad de Fillmore. Les agradezco la oportunidad de que me dieron para ser el jefe aquí en la ciudad de Fillmore. El miércoles que viene, febrero 1, de las 8 a 9, vamos a estar en el Starbucks. Si gustan venir para un café y hablar conmigo y miembros del Departamento de Policía. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief Malagon. Oh, I just said thank you. Thank you. I think on behalf of everyone in the city, we welcome you with open arms. Looking forward to working with you. Okay, our next presentation is for agenda item 5B, is the Coloring Contest Dia de los Muertos event contest winners, and this will be presented by the Art Commission.
Hello, City Council, community members. My name is Luana Barajas, and I am one of the Fillmore Arts Commission commissioners. We also have...
Hi, I'm Greg.
So for our Dia de Muertos celebration, the Arts Commission had a coloring contest, and we had about 45 young people enter, ages ranging from 3 to 18 years old. And we got together, and Greg judged the elementary entries, and then him and I judged the middle school and high school entries. And so we chose 7 students that just did an exceptional job on, they really worked hard on their coloring for their age group. So we will be announcing those tonight.
One at a time.
First is Caleb Boeck. I don't know if he's here tonight.
Caleb?
I don't think he's here. Okay. Joshua Diaz.
Good job, Joshua.
Moises Patiño. Oh, well, this is the certificate. Okay, well, this here. Alice Klitich.
Good job, Alice.
Mariana Elvira. Ethan Klidich. Diego Herrera. Gabriel Cardona. All right. Thank you very much. And so the Art Commission works to present anything having to do with visual arts, performing arts, music. And so if people just continue to watch the City of Fillmore's social media, we have a lot of other events planned for the future as well. So thank you.
I just want to say this was Luana's idea, and it was a brilliant idea. Everybody loved it. We'll do it again. Luana, thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question up here? Sorry. Before all of the kids leave, even if it's out in the foyer, group it together and hold up their artwork, and we can pass that. I don't believe that a photographer from the Gazette is here, but we'd certainly like to pass the photographer on.
Should we do it here right now? Because I know it's late, so we might have to get going.
Yeah, in the foyer would be fine, yeah. Thank you.
So if all the winners can meet us out in the foyer, please.
Okay, thank you. And well done, young artists. Very good. Okay, next on our agenda, we are on item number 6, public comment. And we do have a few comment cards here, so I will go in order. You will have 3 minutes of public comment to speak. When the last 30 seconds you have your last 30 seconds, the light will go from green to yellow, and I'll also let you know that you have 30 seconds to start. So our first person is Lorena Felix, but I've been informed that Lorena would like to defer her time to Ralph Jimenez, and that is fine, that is allowable. And so Ralph, you will have a total of 6 minutes if you take that time up. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Council. I'm here again for the second time to ask the Council that they recall the litigation they have against me for the ongoing problem that's been going on in the Riverwalk community for the past 20 years. I wanted to show you guys all, I don't know if all you guys got a copy of that. So that's me putting the fairway back to where the way it originally was. And then the second page shows the wall that I put up and the wall directly behind my house, that's my neighbor's, that he has it all the way out to the sidewalk. What the city's preventing me from doing is exactly what my neighbor did. I also have an email. I've been asking for records, public records request. I have an email here that back over 2 years ago, Kevin McSweeney sent an email to Dave Rollins and to Roxanne, the city engineer, saying that the neighbor behind me at 793 Burlington had moved his fence out to the sidewalk and that no permit was issued. So the city has been aware of this situation for the past 2 years plus, and he's not in litigation. They've only known about my situation for 3 months, and I'm already being sued. How could that be fair when there's emails going back 2 years that neighbor had did the same thing that I'm being sued for? Another thing is, I don't know if it's true, but through a rumor, I heard that there's going to be a closed session meeting regarding the other 10 people that have moved out their fence. And I'd also ask the city council that I could be part of that, that they include my address in that discussion if that discussion takes place. Because once again, it just feels like I'm being singled out. And this email right here shows that I'm being singled out because 2 years ago, the city council, not the city council, the city knew about what was going on with my neighbor, and proceeded to do nothing legally. It's here in writing. And then last, I went to go see Mr. McSweeney several times. I had several meetings with them, and I consider Mr. McSweeney the Director of Planning and Development, and I followed his lead. I wish the City Council would depose him of all the 10, 15 conversations we had, and he was giving me guidance on what to do, and I followed all his guidance, and he was just as shocked as I was to know that I was being sued. So I hope the City Council takes the moment or some time to talk to Kevin and get his side of the story of what he was telling me. I talked to Dave Rollins. I kind of explained everything to him, and he basically told me that there wasn't much he could say because we're in litigation. But I asked Mr. Rollins again to not cancel the lawsuit, but dismiss it until all the facts are together. It's not like we're in a rush. This problem has been going on for 20 years. And, you know, there's no need to rush. I'm not saying that I'm not going to take down my fence, but I think it's premature. And if that rumor is true that the council is going to listen to the 10 other people that are in the same situation I'm in, then, you know, I should be allowed to be part of that group because all of them did the same thing that I did. They just did it a lot. They did it way before I did. And then last, I want to thank Councilwoman Bogey and Councilwoman Villaseñor, and I have the pleasure to meet Councilmember Mendez, but even though you guys haven't given me the time to tell me what I want to hear or whatever, but at least you guys have given me the time to hear me out. And I know even though that we're in litigation and there's small things you can't do or say, I understand that, but I appreciate you guys giving me the time. And the other two council members that aren't, well, that Chris Garola is here over the phone and that Mark Austin's not present, if they don't have time to return calls or don't want to hear from the constituents, then they shouldn't be on the city council. They shouldn't be running for office if they don't have time to respond to our needs. When they're out campaigning and everything, they're knocking on your door, hey, vote for me, I'll be there, I'll be there. And you call and reach out to them, and they don't even have the courtesy to call you back. And we don't need people like that on the council. And if you're going to be a council member and not listen to your constituents, or at least acknowledge that you got their message and say, hey, I can't, tell me whatever, but don't ignore me. We don't need people like that on the council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jimenez. Before I call up our next public comment speaker, I want to make sure I have the time right. I think, Erika, I may have pushed something and it might need to be reset, so give me just one sec. Okay, thank you. Our next public comment speaker is Ms. Ann Ray.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone, and congratulations. Happy to welcome you to our beautiful little town. I wish you a lot of luck. Thank you. I'm here speaking again about the Santa Clara River bottom. Unfortunately, this evening, right when I was getting ready to come to the city council meeting tonight, right out my front door were two sheriff cars and the fire department because of illegal activity in the river bottom. This is an ongoing, serious issue. I brought it up at the last council meeting. I have been told something will be looked into but I want to bring it to your attention that I don't feel safe in my own home or comfortable. We're going to be having Santa Ana winds starting this evening through tomorrow. There's a warning. And because of a fire ember danger in the river bottom, my house could burn down. I'm not being, dramatic. That's reality. And yet the sheriff and the fire department did not go down in the river bottom this evening, according to what I witnessed, and engage with the people that are starting these fires and inhabiting the river bottom. So this is a serious issue that needs to be addressed. And I'm really concerned, and I will continue to come to city council meetings, and I'm getting to the point where I'm pleading with you. Let's form a group of citizens to have meetings, a think tank, brainstorm, do something to help these people. They need help, but I don't want the criminal activity and the danger that they're imposing in my neighborhood. They need help. I agree to that. But let's do something that benefits the whole town. They should not have the right. Am I going down in the river bottom and constructing a, chicken house and putting chickens down there because I decide I want to raise chickens and sell eggs because of the price of eggs? I wonder how long my chicken coop would last before I was approached by the city and told to move on. That's one subject I wanted to address. The other subject is I have a neighbor.
You have about 25 seconds, okay.
I have a neighbor that was an original owner on Burlington. Not the neighbor to my immediate left if you're facing the river, but the house next to that. It's the last house on the curve. His fence goes out to the street. I watched him construct a pool and move his fence out to the street over 20 years ago. The city didn't do a thing. Why is Ralph being penalized?
Okay,
Think
thank you.
about it. It's not fair.
Thank you. Our next public comment speaker is Carrie Gray.
My time's okay.
Sorry, I have a little bit of problems with the timer. Thank you. Just one moment. Thank you, Carrie, for your patience. Okay, I think we're good to go, and I'll give you an extra 15 seconds. Okay, thank you, Carrie.
I don't need that long. Good evening. My name is Carrie Gray, and I'm a resident of Fillmore City. I've been a teacher for the school district for about 19 or 20 years. I can't remember. It's been too long. But most importantly, I'm a mom and a parent here in this community. Both of my boys have participated on the high school swim team, as well as boys water polo. So I'm here about the pool. Both my sons, Tyler and Ethan, are actually current employees of the city. They are both lifeguards. And I do believe that they have become lifeguards because they were on the swim team and the water polo team. And I do believe that's where most of the lifeguards that you hire come from, because of those students. I'm here tonight because the city is considering moving forward with closing the pool for construction from March until June. I just found out about that a couple hours ago. That's why I'm here. I'm here to urge you to consider pushing back the dates. This would allow the Fillmore High School students to have a swim team. I know there's been issues over the years, but I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here because it's my son's last year. He's a senior and he will be graduating. We have the coach, Cindy. We have the students, they're ready to swim. So I don't know much about the pool, but it looks like, we would really appreciate you guys pushing it back. It would really be a shame if those kids didn't get to swim, not just my son. And last year, I do believe, I don't know if I have this correct, but it was the first year that the boys actually got to go to CIF, and that's a big for our small town. We are very much looking forward to watching him swim along with his teammates. I am here on behalf of all of them. They're a great group of kids. If you were to come out and you want to come volunteer during the meets, our kids are great, the other teams are great, there's no fighting, it's a wonderful sport. Sometimes we kind of get the bottom of the barrel as far as funds or notifications.
Yeah, about 30
or
seconds.
anything. Okay. So anyways, I'm hoping that you can reconsider and try to push back the dates so that we can have a season this year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me just finish. Okay, let me get adjusted here. That's okay. Okay, all right. Our next public comment speaker is Mr. Ernie Rangel.
Good evening. Hello. I'm Pastor Ernie from La Promesa de Jesus here in Fillmore. We're working with Faith Community Church. My reason I'm here for is if you can consider that when I do my outreaches out there in the community, if you can consider not to bill us or charge us for the outreach. The reason, because we're not making profit of it. We're just trying to help the community as well. And the majority thing is that we do is try to go into the homes of the families and help them out in whatever we can. Why? Because I've been a resident in Fillmore since 1973. So I grew up in Fillmore and I know what life is out there in the streets. Now that I became a pastor, I would like to help those families that are going through the same situation, especially our kids, our community. They need that. And through the parents, so parents can be at church, we have to go through the kids, through the children. So we do everything free of donations to the families, whatever we give that day. And that's all we want to do for Fillmore community, and work together with the City Hall if we can, be part of it so we can help this community to be better every day. And I mean, my staff in church, they're willing to work in Fillmore, they're willing to outreach these families. It's just to help them out, that there's hope out there, that there's something better out there in life, and that whatever they want to achieve, they could do it. And that's my goal here in Fillmore, and we're serving for the community in the past 13 years. So we're being here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Rangel. That is all I have for general public comment. Are there any other public comments that have come in? No? Okay. No, then, see, I think it was time to turn the reins back over to our Mayor, Austin. Okay, all right, switch seats.
Mayor, before we proceed, can we also make sure to ask Councilmember Garola if there's any public comments on his side?
Okay. Councilmember Garola, are there any public comments from your side?
There are no members of the public that decided to join me today.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to item number 7, consent calendar. Do I have an approval for the consent calendar?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Will you take a roll call?
Councilmember Mendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Brogy,
Yes.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Villasenor,
Yes.
and Councilmember Garola.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to item number 8, 8A, award of a contract for construction of project specification number 2101 Fillmore Aquatic Center Improvement Project.
Good evening. Dave, did you want to say anything, or I'm already up? Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. It's good to be here tonight. I'm your city engineer, Roxanne, and I'm here to talk about the pool center contract. Okay, it's up there. I have to say play. So I did a little bit of a PowerPoint to walk you through it. This is the project site. We're talking about the Fillmore Tennis and Aquatic Center at 575 First Street. We acquired the site from the school district actually in around 2007, 2008, and then we built a pool in 2008, 2009. The tennis courts were already existing. The surface area of the plastering in this pool is a little over 6,000 square feet, and it's been there for about 14 years, and we have not replastered it as of yet. The pool condition is showing some cracking in the plaster and some checking, if you will, in and around the whole pool area. So this picture is a little bit of this is what we're dealing with. In July of 2020, the county health inspector brought it to our attention that the cracking was becoming an issue and that we would need to do a replastering project. So soon after that, beginning in 2020, we sought to get the project designed, got the project design contract out at the bidder end of 2020, and then as you can see on the side, through time, April, we did bid it once, we got a couple bids. We couldn't work out a payment plan, so we rejected all bids in August of 21. Then we worked diligently with the school district, and we came up with a license agreement which was executed last May. And then we were authorized to re-advertise. We did repackage it. We added some ADA improvements to bring the place up to code and get current with our ADA improvements. And then bid it out in October and received 3 bids in December. And then we worked with the school district to review the bids. And the scope of work includes removal of all the tile, all the plaster, also upgrades to the ADA, like I mentioned, which includes some recessed stairs and grab rails, and we're adding a new ADA lift to the pool side, and then some spot repair to the concrete. I mean, we're taking the whole pool shell down to concrete, doing spot repairs, replastering, retiling, updating the lighting that's underwater to LED lights. And so it's a big project, and it's like a new pool, right? And so the project cost overall for the construction is almost $450,000, and then we reserve a construction contingency. So if stuff comes up in the middle of construction, we have some contingency budget. And then there's project construction and management, which includes both, city engineer time to oversee the project, as well as a construction manager and inspection team, and also reserving the designer during construction phase to review submittals and address if there are change orders. And so that whole team is included in this overall project cost, comes up to $564,688. As was mentioned tonight at one of our speaker comments, the closure timeline is a thing. It's never a good time to be without a pool, except in the wintertime when it's raining and we can't work on the pool. So we were made aware that the swim team had not been informed that this project was coming up so quickly, and there was concern about the swim season. Like, they get in the pool in a couple weeks and they don't have an alternate school lined up. So that would be their swim season goes February to mid-May when they make CIF, which they should again this year, hopefully. And so they would need the pool through mid-May. And then right after that, like Memorial Day weekend, we kick it off with the city program, and we're in there from May through August. And then after that, in September, water polo begins, and they're up until the bitter winter. So it's kind of like, when do you close the pool? Right? So we've been thinking this through, and the staff report does recommend that we just award the contract, get to work. They could break ground March 1st, be done by mid-June. But that does displace the swim team kind of on a moment's notice, which has been brought to our attention. So a second option, I did reach out to Condor Inc., who bid the project, and I told them the situation at hand. The contractor said he's willing to be flexible and work with us on moving the schedule, and that he could hold the price for a few months if that helps everybody. And so we do have the option of pushing the start date. Like, we can still award the contract tonight, and with the caveat that they don't start until mid-May, end of May, maybe even June, depending on how it all works out for us. But if we do begin the contract like at the end of swim season in mid-May, then the city won't have a program. It's a 65-day working contract. And so that's about 3 months on a calendar. And so if we start mid-May, we'll be done, mid-August, or coming up to August. And so the school district did offer to see if the swim team could, do regular season and maybe find an alternate location for postseason when they make CIF. But that would only buy us a couple of weeks, and it might be better, staff's kind of thought this through, and that would put us maybe having some time in the pool in August when our programs are limited, and it'd be hard to get a partial season lifeguard because the lifeguards have all gotten jobs by then. And so I don't know how much benefit we would get by disturbing them during their CIF, which is, really important. So we're thinking that if we go with the option to delay the start date, that we just give them the pool until their season is over, including CIF. So that would put us starting right around Memorial Day and being done. Then we would work on it through June, July, and August, and it'd be ready for water polo in September, brand new pool. So that's the other option that we bring forth for your consideration. But it would mean that the city won't have a city swim program this summer while we do the pool repairs. So that concludes my report, and I'm open for questions.
Any questions by council?
I have a question on the option that you just said. So if we do start at the later date, the contract price is guaranteed not to go up, right? Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, Condor said they would hold their price.
Is that through June, or is that, you said 3 months, so we're already into January, so February, March, April? So
No.
they're going to hold it through the end of their swim season?
Yeah,
Okay.
he said that if we put the start date in June, he would still honor the bid price as bid. He just
Okay.
still needs his full 65-day schedule, because that's what it's going to take to do the pool. So he'll need 3 months whenever we start, and he's okay with the June 1st start date at the latest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have a question. Oh, go ahead. Okay, I know, and this might be a question for David. Under our recommendation, we're sort of moving around funds, reallocating some ARPA money and that sort of thing, which looks okay to me. But I guess my question is, if we do have not a rec season, is there funds, potentially, it's just an idea, to, maybe once a week or a couple of times a month to take a bus of kids to the Kimball pool or to a local pool? Is that potentially, can we do something like that?
That's one thing City Council can discuss. We're going into our budget cycle, so we can take a look at that at that point in time.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right, thank you. And just a follow-up question, actually, about the ARPA funds mentioned here. The amount of $112,500 from the Gateway Arch sign, is that reallocation on here? Because I know I think we had put in, was it 25% to sort of, that was our contribution, being that they would be able to raise the rest. Was there a deadline? Was that money not raised? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, there's a deadline, I believe, the first part of January to have everything raised, ready to go. So we're pushing this over, but also remember, once the project is built and paid for, the school district will be paying back half the money.
Right.
We're around $282,000. We'll put that money back into the ARPA funds. You guys can discuss that point in time, where you'd like to see it. If some reason the art sign comes back up, we can reallocate it back into that. But this is what we're doing right now to make sure we get the pool taken care of without having to put a debt in the reserve fund.
Okay, thank you.
Just one other option. Just wanted to find out if you had any discussions with the school district at all about the likelihood that they will not have a water polo team in the fall. And if that's the case, would it be more prudent to, and assuming that the contractors were willing to do this, push a start date till the date that we close the pool after rec season. So in other words, starting on September 1st.
I did have a discussion with the school regarding they're not sure about water polo at this point in time, but it was also discussed that by the time we get to that point in time, they may have a water polo coach and a team ready to go, and it's never a good time to close the pool. But also the contractor said by then there could be significant change in labor and materials, and that he would need us to work with him on a cost adjustment, which then opens up the question marks about competitively bidding, and if he wants us to just change the rates based on inflation, we'd probably have to reject all bids and rebid the project, honestly.
Okay, well, I just really appreciate the work that you put into this and, last minute notice on changing dates on things and working with the contractor, working with the school and getting this change accomplished, because I know the last number I received was there's, I think, 31 kids on the swim team that have already started working in the weight room, looking forward to getting, in the pool, and there's, a good number of those are seniors, and I think, and I may be wrong on this, but, they were impacted by COVID too. So these kids that are seniors would have been impacted by, not being able to swim during COVID. So anyway, I think this is a good thing. I think this is a good compromise, and I really appreciate the work that was done on this by the staff.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Garolo, do you have any questions?
No questions. I would just like to say I really do appreciate the staff working quick notice to be able to get the agreement from the contractor, because I do believe that this is probably the best option for the city and the school district moving forward to make sure that the replastering is done in a cost-effective manner.
Okay. And if there aren't any more questions, I'm going to open up the public hearing. Or not open the I'm just going to ask for public comment. Our first speaker is Cindy Blatt.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for letting me speak to you. So I've been the swim coach for, this will be my 19th year out of 22 years or 23 years. And I'm encouraged by what we're being told about the changes as far as the swim team probably being able to get in this season, because as currently written, we would not have a season this year. So I'm happy to hear that's sort of come about, the change sort of come about. I do want to make a couple comments about, I guess you can't move it to water polo. Is that what I heard right?
No, I think they've said they'll leave it. Go ahead. We'll skip the swim season to pick up water polo.
Okay.
So I'm saying after swim season, we'll pick up the contract if that's the way we decide. And then by the time it hits water polo season, it'll be ready.
Okay,
Is that correct? Is
that
correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And then I just wanted to I point out that actually this season for CIF, season is the first week of May. It doesn't go into the middle of May, so that cuts it back a little bit. And the other comment I have is that actually the city was told by the county about this in 2019, not 2020. But I'm happy that this is going forward, because the pool really does need a lot of work on it. So thank you for letting me speak.
Great, thank you. Next speaker is David Tello.
Hi, good evening. I'll be really quick.
Okay.
My son, Tyler's here also. They were part of COVID, and it did affect them. They missed a lot of swim. Last year, they were able to go to CIF. They really look forward to participating this year. It affects a good 30-plus kids. If you've never been to a meet, it's full. We have to take our own chairs. The bleachers aren't enough for us. There's a lot of people that it affects. And just like any student who plays sports, football, basketball, but it's so important to them, and it's really important to them. And we're really lucky that we're able to keep the coach to continue this. And that's pretty much it. I hope you're able to delay it.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Lonnie Farr?
Just a brief question, or brief statement. I think it's great. I think water polo, my daughter played water polo, not here, but water polo, swim, I think is great for students. I have no problem with that. Just as citizens who pay for this pool, it's kind of sad that we're not going to get any part of it. We're going to lose out, and that's kind of a bummer. I don't know if there's a way sometime during that they're swimming and that we've got the pool open, maybe you'll consider maybe us pass where we get to use it on the weekend, something so that we can enjoy the pool that we pay for. I find it really interesting, and I don't know how they're going to do it, but I just saw the article for Oxnard, and if you didn't see it in the County Star, it says Oxnard scaled back the size of their competition swimming pool for its planned aquatic center at College Park following a $9.5 million increase to their costs. So if they can hold it for a couple of months, I get that, but there's no way that they can hold it. I'm having some stuff done in my house, and it's crazy how much everything has gone up. So anyway, it would be nice if you could consider the citizens to be able to at least even on the weekend go in and use the pool. So, but no, I think it's great to have a water polo and swim team. I just feel like we're getting shut down on it. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, but there's no more public speakers on the item, so I'm going to open it up for council discussion.
Okay. Well, I'll kick it off and say I'm in favor of us pushing back our construction date to whatever the latest point in time where we don't have to go out to have the rebid, and we stick with our contract. So if that's June 1st, then for the contractor, then that's what it is. And I really appreciate and understand the importance here for our high school students who use the pool. And I loved Lanny's comment, and I plan to bring it up at the end. I think that's a great idea to see what we can manage with lap swim before we have to close the pool. I'd like to talk about that. Okay.
Yeah, again, as I said before, I really appreciate the work that went into this. When I know there was a lot of scrambling at the last minute, trying to, when realization hit that the school, the swim students weren't going to be able to swim. So there was a lot of jostling around. I think the reallocation of monies, the way that it's spelled out here, will work, when it gets to May, when we start the repairs. And glad that we've got this partnership with the school where, they'll then pay us back the 50% portion of it. So I think when all is said and done, I think this was a success. And of course, maybe I should wait till, July to say that. We'll see. But anyway, that's all.
I want to echo what my fellow two council members said. I'm in support of pushing back the date as far as back as we can push it back. And I want to thank city staff for their excellent work and be able to pivot on the fly and make the necessary adjustments. I think that was great. Thank you for your work. And also, if there is anything we can do for the public to fit them in somehow, that really would be good. But I do support pushing it back as far back as we can get it. Thank you.
Councilmember Gurrola?
Yes, I'd just like to thank city staff again, and then especially the public for coming out to speak and supporting the city staff recommendations to push it back and try to find the most flexible time frame to shut the pool down. I also do support the idea of us trying to look for alternate hours outside of our normal rec season to try and get the public in there if possible.
And I'm going to echo all four of the other council members, but I'm going to say that Christina's been here since the beginning of this, and I've been through this, and we've been going back and forth with the school district for maybe it hasn't been, maybe it's been 2 years, I don't know, but it's been a long time. We've had to go back and forth. The contracts went back and forth. And at one time, what was our price, Dave? When we first went out to bid, it was $200 and something thousand, wasn't it? I can't remember.
It was around the 440,000. Then we had estimates to $1 million for this last week came out. And that's why we did the bid so soon, because we wouldn't wait around.
Right, I just remember it was a lot cheaper at that point.
Yeah, a lot cheaper.
And I'd like to explore maybe Christina's idea of if we can do anything out of the budget to help send some of the children, or, I meant, if it's adults, ride the bus over to another pool to get some swimming in. I mean, I'd like to explore that if we could. But I'm in favor of it. I think that as long as they're going to hold the contract, as far as we can hold the contract, I'd like to do that and push it, so we get the swim season and the water polo season. And, I hear you, Lonnie. It hurts me to be paying the money. Everybody in this room probably pays the money to have that pool open for seasons for the public. But like I said, we went in a long negotiation with the school district over this. So with that, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to, approve the recommendations for the reallocation of monies from the American Recovery Programs, and how detailed do I have to go on this, Tiffany?
You can say the staff recommendation and then any changes you want to make.
Okay, so all the items that are referenced in 1 through 5, and the exception being the change to this motion is to push the start date to the end of May. Is that correct, Roxanne? Okay.
Yeah, or to the
June.
the soonest possible moment. that
In
makes
May
sense for
possibly,
everybody
yeah.
In May timeframe.
I think that's it.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Would you take a roll call vote, please?
Yeah. Councilmember Mendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Brogy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Villaseñor,
Yes.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
and Councilmember Garola.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we're going to move on to item number 8B, consideration of maintaining the 2023 potable water and sewer rates at the rates reestablished in 2021.
Excuse us, we're getting the presentation loaded up, sorry.
Did? No, I think it was 2. It was.
Got it? Don't worry, Tim. I meant, don't worry, Chris. We haven't went to sleep. We're still here, Chris.
No worries. I can still hear you.
Is this one? No.
What? I was just.
Those look like different dates. What could you do with the draft one?
I can probably do it with the draft one. Yeah, the changes weren't substantive, so.
Okay, good evening, council. I apologize for the delay. I misinterpreted. I thought that the presentation would be loaded, so that is my bad. Tonight, we're here to review a presentation about the water and sewer rates, and we have Chris Fisher here from Wilden, who's going to go through this presentation. Good news is that we're asking for consideration of maintaining the rates and not increasing. So.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, city staff. I'm Chris Fisher with Wildan Financial Services, and here to go over the results of the financial analysis and review of the utilities that we did, and the review of the rates. So there are just a few substantive changes from that. They had a draft loaded, and there was a subsequent final to that, but there was only a few little changes, and I'll note those when we get to those. So with any rate study, the primary goals of this study were to take a look at both utilities and ensure that we're able to achieve full cost recovery of all the expenditures necessary to operate those utilities. We need to make sure that the rates are based on the cost of service. That's a requirement under California Proposition 218. We want to make sure as best as we can that within that cost-based rate structure, we're maintaining equity among all of the different classes of customers and the customers within each class. That they're administratively efficient and easy for the city to administer and bill and for customers to understand, that the rates are based on a 5-year financial plan, and as I mentioned earlier, that they comply with Prop 218 both in the substantive manner, meaning they need to be based on the proportionate cost of service for each of the people who pay those rates, and also from a procedural standpoint, that we conduct a public hearing and go through the steps necessary for those rates. So just generally, here's a look at what we do. The green boxes up top represent kind of the review of existing and historical data, and then using data and projected water flows to see what revenues would be under the existing rates. And then we compare that to the red boxes on the bottom, which is looking at all of the costs that go into operating both the water and the wastewater utilities, operating and maintaining, repairing aging system and components, paying debt, service on outstanding loans, any other capital projects, to come up with what we call a total revenue requirement. We compare that total revenue requirement to the revenue that can be generated based on the existing rates, and to the degree that any shortages exist, then we would recommend changes, and we would undergo rate design. So factors in general that drive any financial plan, and things that we always look at closely, and certainly did here. Right now in particular, costs of operating utilities are rising, everything, and that's, I mean, that always happens, but now they seem to be going up at a little bit steeper rate than normal. That includes personnel, labor, benefits, pensions, and all of those things. And then planned capital expenditures are usually the other big thing. And there are definitely some capital expenditures in the CIP, the Capital Improvement Plan. And there's just a few of the major ones listed there. And here's a graphic look at the capital plan. You can see over the next 5 years, about $8.3 million programmed in total, over half of that for water and 34% for sewer. And then in the subsequent 5 years, from 28 to 2032, the mix kind of flips. The amount of capital goes down by almost half, actually more than half, and then flips to more sewer and about 33% water. So it's just a quick snapshot of what's in the capital plan. So we're going to take first a look at the current state of both utilities, and the objective here is to understand what the financial projections look like with no changes in rates, no increases in revenues, and then to the extent there are, understand any financial shortfalls, which we'll see in a moment. Is not an issue. So this is a graphic look at the water utility. So you can see the top section there, the light blue bars are the revenues, the dark blue bars are the expenditures. So we're comparing the annual revenues beginning year 2023 out to year 2027 and comparing those with the expenditures. And you can see in each year the light blue bars exceed the dark blue bars, which is a good thing. And the black line represents the net operating result. And you can see it just declines just slightly over the 5-year period, but we're talking about a decline from about 600,000 down to still just over 500,000. So still generating positive operating results. That's a nice picture. The utility has cash on hand. You see the bottom left part of the graph there. The blue bars represent the days cash on hand, and the black bar represents, or the black line represents the target based on the city's policy, financial policy. So you can see we got plenty of cash on hand, and still it goes down slightly, but it's still over the objective at the end of the 5-year period. And you may recall the capital items that were laid out in that previous slide, and that's the reason that we're drawing down on cash that the utilities accumulated to pay for those capital projects. So good news, there's enough money there to do that without having to increase revenues. And then you can see the final box there is the debt service coverage. So we're maintaining debt service coverage well above the requirement. The requirement for the latest debt is only 1.15. The target is 1.5 to maintain even a higher level of debt service coverage to increase the creditworthiness of the city. And then we're well above that line. And what debt service coverage means is that when you borrow money from bondholders, you make a covenant to maintain, in this case, the target is 1.5, which means for every $1 of debt service that you have $1.50 in net operating result to make sure that you've got more than enough money to pay that debt service. So that's what that represents. So here is the same set of graphs for the sewer utility. Again, you can see the picture is very positive. On the top, the light blue bars are exceeding the dark blue bars. The net operating result is positive each of the 5 years, declining just slightly. The days cash on hand stays about the same, and the debt service coverage is well above the requirement. So again, good picture for the sewer utility. So next, let's talk about cost of service. So even with no necessity to increase revenues, we still have to take a look at the rates based on a cost of service standpoint and ensure that they are in compliance with Prop 218, that the rates are based on the cost of service, and that the rates for each user that they pay are proportionate to the impact that they have on the system and the cost that they cause the system to generate. So we want to understand the total revenues that are necessary and that needed to be recovered from user rates. We're going to talk about the cost of service methodology, talk about how costs are allocated between various types of costs, and then further allocated between each respective class of customers. So kind of a terminology discussion. First, we're going to talk about the structure of the rate, or the methodology of the rate structure, and then we'll talk about the difference between revenues and rates. So with any rate structure, we're trying to answer really three questions. How much revenue is needed, who's incurring the cost, and what do the rates need to be in order to generate the revenues to pay all the bills for each of the utilities. So phase one is the how much revenue is needed question, and that we are trying to analyze the revenue sufficiency or determine what's called the revenue requirement. And the purpose of that is to develop a financial plan that projects all of the costs of the utilities out 5 years to make sure each of those 5 years we're generating enough revenue. Phase two is the cost of service analysis, where we look at the design of the systems, historical operating results, historical customer demand patterns, peak patterns, average patterns, so that we can assign out all of those costs in a way that represents how they're incurred and which customers cause them to be incurred in different proportions compared to other customers. And then finally, based on that cost of service analysis, we design rates that then reflect how those costs are distributed among the customers, so that those rates are assigned based on the usage of benefit. So there's two key terms to keep in mind here. There's revenues and there's rates. They're not the exact same thing. They're very closely related, but not the same. So revenues is the aggregate amount of money or cash that the utilities, each of the two utilities, needs to generate to pay for all of its operating costs. And that's all the things we talked about: operating, maintenance, repair of aging components, capital, all those things. The rates are the actual the rates that are charged to customers, residents within the city, and property owners, which taken collectively then generate that revenue. So there may be a change in revenue or a change in rates, not necessarily equal with each other. And that's what we're going to talk about. So the revenue, as I said, we don't need any increased revenue. The utilities have enough revenue. However, based on a cost of service standpoint, we did need to make some adjustment in the structure of the rates, so there will be some changes within that structure to some individual rates. So here's the summary of the revenue adjustments. You see zero necessity for increasing the revenues for each of the two utilities over the 5-year period. And this is what the revenue requirements look like. Again, so for water and wastewater, you see total operating maintenance costs, debt service costs, and then other expenditures and transfers. For a gross revenue requirement of 4.2, almost 4.3 million for water, and 7.2 million for wastewater. Those are offset by some other revenues, various fees and charges and things like that, to yield a net requirement there in the bottom line. So that's the amount of revenue from each utility that we then need to spread out all of the costs that make up those requirements out to the customers in a way that reflects their cost of service. So we use an industry standard approach that is used around the country. However, it is specialized in California. California is the only state with a Prop 218 or anything like it. We do rate studies all over the country, and other states sort of chuckle when they hear what we have to deal with Prop 218. It's a much more stringent requirement in terms of cost of service, and it really does restrict what you can do in the rates and how they do have to reflect the cost of service. So those rates do need to recognize that different customers, different groups of customers, and customers within each group. So for instance, residential customers compared to commercial, compared to industrial, and then within residential customers, those that use a lot of water, those that don't use a lot of water, and those types of things. So we need to recognize all of those differences. So first, we allocate the cost based on whether they're fixed or variable, based on the number of customers within each of the different classes of customers. Allocate the cost based on total flows within each of those classes, and then also the peak demand. And this applies both to water and sewer. Obviously, when we're talking about flows for water and flows for sewer, those are different things, but generally the concepts are the same. So in the water, what we do is first we take and unbundle or put the costs into buckets based on whether they're for various operating functions of the system: pumping, transmission, distribution, et cetera. And then we further classify those 5 groups of costs into those that are necessary to serve your base demand, those that are necessary to serve peak demand during peak periods, both on a max hour and max day basis, and then those costs that are fixed, that are related strictly to meters and customers. On the sewer side, it's very similar. It's just that the functions are a little bit different, like I talked about a second ago. Instead of transmission and distribution, we have collection and treatment. And we also have pumping and administration. And then we classify those costs into those that are necessary to serve volume, to create capacity, necessary capacity, those that are specifically attributable to the various strengths of effluent that are generated by wastewater customers, and then those fixed costs that are related to customers. So here's what the rates look like and the differences in some of the bills compared using the old rates and the new rates. And so it's important to point out that the key change in the rates, both on the water and the wastewater side, is that each of the base charges on the water and the wastewater side had an allotment of water included in the base charge. Under Proposition 218, that's not technically compliant because not everybody is paying for all of their water use or sewer discharge. And so rates need to be based on actual flows, not based on where you have lots of customers paying the same amount. Some may be using a lot of water, some may be using no water, and you'll see kind of how that factors out in the rates. So this is what the proposed rates look like. The top part are the monthly base charges, and those are the base charge that every customer pays based on the size of their meter. Those charges go up with each meter size based on the concept that they have the ability to draw more water through that meter if it's a larger meter, so the costs are distributed in a way that reflects the increased level of demand with larger size meters. And then you have the volumetric rate per 100 cubic feet of water. So that's $3.14 per 100 cubic feet, or 748 gallons for each. It's also called a unit sometimes. So for each unit of water, they'll pay $3.14 in addition to the fixed charge for their meter on a monthly basis. The sewer charge, the residential is a flat rate, and the non-residential is the rate on the sewer side, where there was an 880 cubic foot allotment that was in the current charges, which will not be included in the updated charges. So here's what the comparison looks like on water. So you see, starting with 0 monthly flow up to 100 cubic feet increments up to 2,000 units of monthly flow. The highlighted line there, 1,200 units, is about average. So the customer in that average would see about an $11.27 difference in their rates, and that's purely attributable to the fixed charge. You see the fixed charges, the monthly charges existing and proposed, are going down significantly. So the fixed charge was the same before, and now that is incrementing based on the meter size and then the flow component on top of that. So you see for low water users, their bill's going to go down. So to the extent that people are conserving water and using less water, they're going to see a reduction in their bill, which they would not have seen under the old structure. And then those customers that are paying for using more water are paying for more water. And then as you get towards the very top end, the meter charge, the math changes so that those bills start to go down a little bit too. So the sewer side, there's no change on to the residential customers. That's staying the same because they didn't have a flow component as part of their sewer rate. So here's what the combined differences look like. It's really the same as we looked at on the water side because there's no change on the sewer side. So the total combined bill would be about $11.27 difference, and we'll see a little bit later that stays the same through the 5-year period because we're not increasing revenues. Once we've done this math to make the rates compliant with Prop 218 and cost of service base, then they're staying that way. There's no changes for the 5-year period. So that's the rates will stay as they are. So here's a look at how Fillmore's rates compare to some of the neighboring communities, staying in the same spot between Port Hueneme and Santa Paula, but going up slightly. So the still right about the same in terms of relationship to the average, which is the red dashed line, and same in relation to the other cities neighboring. The difference is, like I mentioned, these rates will stay the same for 5 years. The other cities, we don't know, at some point in time they're going to be doing rate studies during the 5-year period, so they will likely change. So here's what the financial plan looks like. Again, it's not going to change a whole lot, but this is what the rates look like, or what we call the rate path for 5 years. So this is what the rates would look like over the 5-year period. And most often you would see these rates going up each year. As I mentioned, they're staying the same. So you can see the 5/8 inch meter, typical residential meter, all the meters in fact stay the same after the initial change. They stay the same for the whole 5-year period. And you can see the flow rate goes from $4.30 down to $3.14. And then stays there for the whole 5-year period. So once we implement this change in structure, then no further changes will happen. And here on the sewer side, again, you see the rate staying the same all the way across. So really not much difference there. And And again, this is just a combination of the two. Again, you can see the initial change in the first year with the change in structure. But then since no further revenues are needed, the rates stay static throughout the 5-year period. And again, there's the summary of the revenue adjustments. These obviously won't change. We're not generating any more revenue. We don't need any more revenue, so these graphs look the same. This is just a kind of a broken out picture numerically of that same graphic representation of the utilities. It's looks like a pro forma financial statement. You got your revenues and expenses up at the top. So you can see the net results line. We're generating over $500,000 in the first couple years, and then drops just below $500,000, and then over $300,000 in the last year. And then you can see the fund activity down below, where we're showing the balances in the operating fund and the capital fund, and those are staying nice and strong, well above the policy objective, and debt service coverage at the very bottom there, again, well above the policy objective and well above what's required in the bond document. So that's going to paint a good picture of the financial markets in the event somewhere down the road the city needs to borrow more money. And then for sewer, same, the graphic picture looks the same. There's the breakdown. Again, the revenues and expenses up at the top, and then about midway down you see the net results line, declining slightly but still very strong. And then the operating fund and capital fund balances, again, good, strong, remain strong. Spend them down just slightly at the end, but not much beyond that. So, and then debt coverage remaining well above the objective. So the next step, this is one of the slides where there were some changes. The public hearing date will be set for April 11th. Under Proposition 218, we're required to mail out notices to all property owners and customers, informing them of this public hearing. So right now, those would need to be mailed out on February 23rd, I think it is, to give us that 45-day gap between the date they're mailed and the date of the public hearing. We're already coordinating. We have the database together for the mailing. We've already drafted the Proposition 218 notice, and we'll just be getting that database to the mailing house to execute that within the next 3 or 4 weeks. On April 11th, we'll conduct the public hearing. Customers and property owners will have the opportunity, if they want to submit a written protest. Following the conclusion of the public hearing, those written protests will be tabulated. As long as no more than a majority of the customers submit a written protest, then the council will have the ability, the discretion to adopt the rates. If you choose not to adopt the rates, you can still do that. If there is a written protest, a majority written protest, then the proceedings end. You can't override that. So that's and then the rates would be effective May 1st, 2003. That's the other change that wasn't on the final slide here. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions or clarifications.
Any questions from staff? I meant for staff.
I do have a question. Yes, thank you. Thank you for your excellent presentation. Really appreciate it. So my question is, as you highlight a horizontal line on a few of those tables, and I think it was like the flow of about 1,200 or so.
Right.
An average, right? Is that sort of an average household?
Based on historical analysis we did, correct.
Okay, great. And, I'm going to question to you and maybe also to Roxanne. For households that, what are some measures that households can take in place to basically help conserve water? If right now they've got a flow of 1,200, are there things that can be done to, because I want to say, because again, it's structured now to the less water you use, the lower your bill will be.
Right.
Just want to see if there's any, recommendations or things for the public if we're going forward.
Certainly, they're the ones that probably most people are aware of. For the most part, discretionary water use is outdoor water use, and so to the degree people can plant drought-tolerant, landscaping or less landscaping or whatever that looks like, reduce washing of cars and driveways and things like that you'll see often in drought notices or drought declarations, things like that. That's the first place typically to look, is outdoor water use. Indoor, water-saving fixtures, water-saving toilets, shower heads, faucets, things like that. Also save water, and then just the common sense thing, turning the water off when you're brushing your teeth, and not wasting water around the house, those kinds of things. So there's certainly, you can get into more specific programs where we, of course, until 2 months ago this conversation was a lot more poignant, but enacting drought rates where you are actually restricting people's ability to do outdoor watering certain days a week, but that's, more of a measure that the council would take if there's but just the, everyday use, it's the kind of the things I talked about earlier, keeping a close eye on outdoor watering needs, and then those kind of common sense things inside the house to reduce waste.
Any other questions? Carrie? You have any questions?
Okay. I had one follow-up, if you don't mind.
Okay. Sure.
And that is, for our small businesses, when going to the business side, I know that this restructuring hopefully will be very beneficial to them because, as you said, they may just have a sink where they wash their hands or a single toilet. And so just want to make a comment, I guess, that with this restructuring, it could be that they don't have to have that certain amount, right? That's just the base,
Correct.
right? Everything is going to be per their flow, per their usage.
Correct.
So that's something to point out.
Prop 218 is geared toward is making sure that everybody's paying for only the water they use and no more water than they use and no less water than they use.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Karen?
One question I had was with regard to the meter sizes, and what's the standard residence meter size?
5/8 inch.
5/8.
Yeah, in some cases 3/4, but mostly 5/8.
And do residents have the option of obtaining larger ones or smaller ones, or does it depend on?
I think they can. Typical residential is going to be dictated, but if they have a special need, I think they can request a larger.
Yeah, and newer residents that require fire sprinklers typically may need a larger meter to allow the fire flow to come through the sprinklers. So some of the newer homes have to have larger meters.
And I have a larger meter because I have a pool.
Well, I do too, but yeah.
I meant, so you probably have a bigger meter. I meant most likely.
Yeah.
I don't know. You just have to look at your bill first time because I was shocked. I was thinking, my water bill is going to go down the first time when we were going through this. I meant the last time. And then I looked at it, I'm like, wait a minute, how come it's this price? And I looked and I go, well, that's my meter. Wait a minute, I guess I have a bigger meter.
Well, overall, I probably have 500 questions that I could, get down to the nitty-gritty on this, but we don't want to do that. The one question I did have is with regard to the report that's attached. Is that available to the public? This is the number one issue that comes up most of the time talking to citizens.
On file with the clerk and available to anybody who wants to
overall.
And I should add, sorry to interrupt you, but the notice that will go out will indicate that the report is available with the city clerk.
And then come into City Hall here and pick it up. Yeah, okay. And then overall, the news that I'm picking up on, if I understand this correctly, is that the rates will not be raised this go around.
Correct. They're just restructured slightly in the very beginning, but then not raised.
Yeah, but I've been up here before when we've had to raise rates.
Yeah,
and
so have I. It's never pleasant.
Yeah. It's very unpleasant.
Yeah.
So anyway, but thank you so much. I appreciate the report.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Councilmember Garola, do you have any questions?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that our resolution 3914 is accurate with what we're talking about. It does look like it includes the 10-unit base rate. And I thought we were proposing a cost per use of water units. I may just be misunderstanding what's written, but I just want to make sure we clarify that. I think figure 2 in section 4.2 of the water rate study probably clearly lays it out, but the table in that resolution is a little confusing.
Is that supposed to be 7?
Is this
supposed to be 7? What's the
where's the top
table that I had gotten from somebody in your office?
I'm not sure where this came from.
Is Councilmember Garola talking? I think he's unsure that the attached resolution represents the.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that table came from. I didn't prepare that, so I'm not sure where that table. Because it's all units now. It's not just a grid. It's all units.
Yeah, remember there was somebody when I was looking up in your office.
Yeah, it just doesn't appear that the resolution represents what was just presented.
Yeah, but this doesn't look like the same table.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out, too, that I think there's 2 different resolution numbers. The one in the staff report is 23-3914, and then the resolution is 23.
He's talking about the resolutions.
Oh.
Yeah, he's looking at 3914, which is for
14 and
the water, the potable water. So we'll take a look at that table and get it accurate if it's a mistake.
How do we handle that, Tiffany? Do we have to put it in the motion?
Yeah, you can, so we don't know at this moment if that's accurate?
I don't.
Those look like the old tables because it says, only greater than 10
I
units.
believe it should reflect
Okay.
7.
So good catch, Councilmember Gurrola.
Good catch, Councilmember Grohl. Did you catch that?
And so if the motion could just be to approve the resolutions with the changes made by staff to include the correct exhibits or charts in 3914.
Okay, you guys got that?
Right, but I think they're only saying 3914 is
Right.
a mistake. That's all that Councilmember Gurrola mentioned. is
Correct,
having
that's the
a
only one that
mistake.
has the.
Is that all you're talking about, Councilmember Grola? 3.914?
It is. I just want to make sure that the recommendations from the water study are what we're going with. That was more clear.
Yeah, Tiffany was just saying we'll amend the resolution to state that in the approval of the resolution. Okay?
Okay.
I have one question for Dave. When is our sewer bond, I keep forgetting what year our sewer bonds paid off.
We refinanced them 5 years ago.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, not an easy
I don't remember what, because I can't remember.
There's two, right? There were the original
right.
2007
Right.
bonds that were refunded, but they didn't refund the 2017 bonds. Only refunded a part of them. So the new 2017 bonds that refunded the old bonds mature in 2047.
Okay.
The bonds that remain out of the original 07 issue that didn't get wrapped into the refunding mature in 2030.
Okay. Thank you. And with that, I'll entertain a motion. Go ahead. Come on, Carrie.
Again, if I understood the issue with regard to the resolutions, we are missing resolution number 233915,
14, we're going to replace the table
Right.
in that with what's
Okay.
in the water, what's in the water study. We're going to replace the table, the current table that's in the resolution.
Right.
With what's in the comprehensive new study.
Okay, so the table will be replaced with what's in the study.
Right.
On 3914. And then with that change, I'll make a motion to approve the other resolutions. Resolution number 233915, and, yeah, that's it.
And 233914 with the new table.
That's what I
With the new
said
table.
first.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Would you take a roll call, please?
Councilmember Mendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Brokey,
Yes.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Villasenor,
Yes.
and Councilmember Gurrola.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 8C. To adopt resolution, 31914 to update the city's record retention schedule and introduce first reading of ordinance 29394, delete Fillmore Municipal Code, Chapter 2.63. With that, I'll turn it over to Erica.
Thank you, Mayor, and good night, council members and residents. As you are aware, state law requires agencies to retain public records. Some records need to be permanent, others need to be kept for a period of time as stipulated in the agency's record retention. We haven't updated our records retention since 1991, and so we had an ordinance, and that's why we're here. We hired a consultant. We've been working out with every single department. We met, we had meetings, she reviewed everything, and we have a more comprehensive retention schedule now. And so I'm here tonight to request you to introduce ordinance number 23944, which would rescind the Fillmore Municipal Code, Chapter 2.63, which is the records retention, and remove that from the city's municipal code. And then you would approve the resolution, which has the stipulations of the new code, the forms. Before we destroy any record, there is an approval process. It will go from the department to the city clerk's office to administration, and then the city attorney would sign off of that before any destruction happens. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff?
Is that process applicable to all records? I mean.
Correct.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Ones that are actually called public records, if they're drafts and things like that you don't normally keep, then they wouldn't be public records that are subject to retention.
Yeah. Thank you for the clarification. When she said all, I assumed all the ones that are listed on the retention schedule.
How long do we usually keep the records on file?
There's some that are permanent. There are others that go 3 years, or some that are 2 years. It just really depends. I did include a copy of that comprehensive retention schedule. For example, like minutes are permanent records, so are the videos of council meetings. HR recruitment paperwork is kept for 3 years. Personnel files is 5. That's just an example. But each department has a comprehensive list, and we just follow that.
Nope, just my comment is I'm glad we're updating this. 1991 is a long time ago.
Councilmember Grola, do you have any questions?
No questions at this time.
Okay. With that, I guess I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make that motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 23-944 and adopt resolution 23-3917 and the updated records retention schedules.
We don't need to.
Do I need to read the ordinance language? Yes, I'm sorry. Okay, the ordinance language for 23-944, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Fillmore, California, deleting Fillmore Municipal Code, Chapter 2-63, which establishes regulations for record retention.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Would you please take a roll call?
Councilmember Mendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Brogy,
Yes.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Villasenor,
Yes.
Councilmember Garola.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 8D, appointment to the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight I'm here, my request is that the mayor's recommendations were received to my office from the ad hoc interview committee. We have 3 planning commissioners positions open, and so we received applications. Interviews were scheduled, and the committee and the mayor is recommending that Commissioner Aaron Todd be reappointed to the Planning Commission, and then resident Gary Cushing and Cameron Carrizales also be appointed as the other 2 commissioners. Their term will be expiring on January 31 of 2027. It's kind of weird to say that. And so that's pretty much my presentation, just reaffirming what the mayor is proposing, and council just needs to vote on it.
I'd like to say that this was the best batch of planning commissioner resumes that we got since I've been on this council for the last 6 years, even before that, because I remember I was a planning commissioner, I used to look at them. So this is the best batch probably in the last 20 years I've seen come in. Carrie and I sat and we looked at them all and we were like, uh-oh. And when we interviewed everybody, we were like, uh-oh. Because we kept narrowing it down, and we kept narrowing it down to further and further, and finally we both came up with these 2. They're both great applicants. And Aaron Todd also, I interviewed him the first time when I was mayor the last time, and I appointed him, so I just kind of did a little more recon on him and see how he was as a planning commissioner.
And I'll ditto everything that our mayor has just said, and I'd like to acknowledge that our new planning commissioner, Gary Cushing, is in the audience. So maybe I stole your thunder on that one. Were you going to do that? Anyway, it was a phenomenal group of people, and I'm hoping that that's indicative of things to come for not just our planning commission, but other committees that the city has and city staff, that we just have a great caliber of people that are applying for positions that want to be part of this program and part of City
And I
Hall.
would hope that if you're out listening, anybody's out there listening that we interviewed the first time, I would hope you'd reapply for we have openings on the Park Commission that will be out that we need volunteers for. So I'd appreciate if we could get some of them. I'm sure Lonnie would love that. Anyway, any questions for Erica? Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion, or do I even have to do a motion on this? Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion then.
Okay, I'll motion that we go with the recommendation of our selection committee, confirm recommendation of the mayor, and appoint Aaron Todd, Gary Cushing, and Cameron Carizales to the Planning Commission, each for a term through January 31st, 2027.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Would you please take a roll call vote?
Councilmember Mendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Brokey,
Yes.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
Councilmember Villasenor, Mayor Pro Tem Villasenor,
Yes.
and Councilmember Garola.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Gary, would you like to come up and say any parting?
Oh, yay.
You have 3 minutes. I'm just kidding.
It'll be very, very, very quick. I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity. We moved to Camarillo. It'll be 3 years in April, and we just have fallen in love with this community, and I'm just happy to be a part of it and be in the process with the city. So thank you very much, and I'll be the best planning commissioner you can.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we're going to move to item number 8E, CFD number 5, Heritage Valley Parks Improvement Area B bonds.
Mayor, I need to recuse myself from living in the
Okay.
area.
Mayor Austin, I also need to recuse myself from this item.
You need to shut your phone off? What? I don't know. I let me wait for Tiffany
If Councilmember Garola can just mute himself for this conversation.
Okay, Councilmember Garola, will you just mute yourself, even though you'll hear exactly what we're saying?
It's fine if they hear you guys.
We'll be muted right now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Tonight I'm here just to give Councilmember Mendez some background. Back in October, Council approved contracts for engagement with Columbia Capital Municipal Advisor and Jones Howell, who is Disclosure Counsel, and also Wilden Financial Services, and Alishire and Winder for bond counseling. And this is for the feasibility to find out whether bond issuance for CFD number 5B is needed, and if it's a good thing for the city and also the constituents. And so that was approved in October. Columbia Capital, Adam Pope with Columbia Capital, who's helping with the process, is on the phone as well if there's any particular questions, has then been administering the request. There was an RFP that was put out in early November to December. We received proposals for underwriting for bond. And after reviewing those proposals, we're coming back to recommend Piper Sandler's proposal to be approved. Unfortunately, for the for the appraisal, we only had one proposal, but we're happy that we received that one, and it's for Integra Realty Resources. And so tonight, my request is just to request council to authorize the assistant city manager to appoint Piper Sandler as the bond underwriting and Integra Realty Resources to provide the property appraisal services and to negotiate final contract terms pertaining to the finance team to undertake the bond issuance. And we will come back to city council with all the reports and everything. The targeted time to do so is April. And so I know that's a very short presentation, but if there's any particular questions about the process, Adam is on the line and he'll be happy to answer those as well.
Okay. Any questions for staff? None? Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion then.
Okay, Tiffany, I'll have to read the resolution? No. Okay, great. So I recommend that we approved resolution number 23-3918 and authorize the Assistant City Manager to appoint Piper Sandler as bond underwriter and Integra Realty Resources to provide the property appraisal services.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Do we need a roll call vote?
What?
Oh,
Roll call vote.
You still want the roll call on that one? Yeah. Okay. Roll call. Do a roll call.
Councilmember Mendez,
Yes.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Villasenor,
Yes.
and Councilmember Brogy and Councilmember Garola recuse themselves from this item. Thank you.
Okay. Go get them. Councilmember Garola, you can unmute your phone.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Okay.
And I'll say I'm joined by some locals here, but they've not decided to make any public comment.
Let me tell you, this is the first time I've done this, and this is pretty weird. You want it to go slower? Okay, we're going to move on to item number. Is Dave back? Okay. We're moving on to item number 8F, appointment and primary and alternative official representative to the Southern California Association of Governments, SCAG.
Thank you, Mayor. The item is mine as well. So everyone knows here that you all serve in different committees and represent the city. Right now it's time to appoint a primary and an alternate representative to the Southern California Association of Governments. There is a conference. The conference is scheduled to be held on May 4th through 5th. There's no schedule yet. I actually personally reached out to SCAG and they said that they were going to try to release a schedule in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So unfortunately, I don't have a schedule for you to review today, but the conference dates are set. And so we are requesting for you to decide who will be the primary person who will have the authority to vote at the meeting during the conference. There's also a deadline to submit proposed resolutions, which is Friday, February 3rd, hence why we're bringing the report today and we didn't wait for the schedule to be published. And also for you to select an alternate representative. So that concludes my presentation.
Okay, I'll open it up. Who wants to volunteer?
I will do it.
All right, Carrie.
All right, Carrie, you'll be the primary.
Well, am I the only one that's retired?
No, because we still have to do an alternate. Anybody else? Keith, Chris, Councilmember Garola, you want to be the alternate?
Albert seems to
Or
be
Albert
going like
wants
this.
to be the alternate?
I could be the alternate.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went last year, so I'm
Okay.
Put it to you.
And I want to say you get to fill out a Form 700 just to go to the meeting.
Okay, well, there's an issue with that then.
So with that, I'll entertain a motion for Carrie as the primary and Albert as the alternate.
All right, so moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second. Would you do a roll call vote?
Councilmember Mendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Brogy,
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Villaseñor,
Yes.
and Councilmember Garola.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 8G, approve the acceptance of FEMA grant for wildland firefighting equipment.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff. So I'm here to ask that the council look at and approve the awarding of a grant that was awarded to our city in September this past year. It's actually a FEMA grant, and there's many FEMA grants that we apply for and receive. This one in particular is called Assistance to Firefighter Grant, AFG. And it's the AFG for fiscal year 2021. Again, it was awarded to the city. Also, this was not just the city, and I'll get into more detail, but it was awarded to all the county fire agencies, with the city being the lead on this. So we're asking that the council approve the acceptance of the grant that's already been awarded. Annually, again, the fire agencies get together and we collaborate and we apply for firefighting equipment, training, and other items to increase our safety when we're doing our jobs. The regional concept is one that FEMA embraces. They actually encourage us to apply regionally, where multiple agencies will get together and they'll share similar equipment, similar design. Definitely, it applies to the way we operate on the emergency scene. We all operate the same mode, and we use the same equipment. So FEMA encourages that philosophy. They definitely embrace and endorse the mutual aid and automatic aid concept. For this past year, for fiscal year 2021, the agencies have applied for different items. For the County of Ventura, they applied for radios and was awarded to the county. Matter of fact, I'll be back in a couple weeks to get approval for our portion of the radios that were approved. Oxnard has submitted for training, fire prevention and hazardous materials training, and we'll be participating in that also. But our portion was the wildland theme, wildland equipment. For many years, we've kind of made do with our wildland equipment. Not that it's been a lower priority, but our focus has been on ensuring that our personnel have the best EMS equipment to serve the public, that we have the best equipment when we enter a structure, that all of our engines are working properly, and that's been our primary focus. We have felt comfortable with the equipment we've had for wildland firefighting, but over time, there's wear and tear on the equipment. We were fortunate to inherit a lot of wildland equipment. When Santa Paula merged with Ventura County Fire, we received equipment from Santa Paula, and then a few years back, we were able to receive some equipment from the city of Ventura. So we've kind of been making do. Our budget is not always the same as other entities, other cities, counties that have a little bit different means of finance. So it's time now, though, to upgrade our wildland equipment. You'll see, I think, on the last page of your addendums, a list of all the equipment that Fillmore is requesting. There's several items there. There's our emergency fire wildland shelter. Not to drag this out, but that is probably the biggest piece of equipment that we need. The wildland fire shelter is basically carried on our hips. If the crews are overrun by fire, they're able to pull them out. It's like a little pup tent, get on the ground, and hopefully it protects the firefighters. It's all situational, but the majority time the firefighters survive using those shelters. It's all built with technology they use for, it's all space age technology. If you remember the space shuttles and the tiles that they had that sometimes were an issue when they would re-enter the atmosphere, it's built with that type of technology. So that's probably the biggest cost for us. Right now, we have enough of those for every firefighter who's on duty on the engine, but we know when we have our fires local, we have a lot of off-duty response, and those personnel come up and fight the fire alongside us, and those people do not have the shelters at this time. So we're looking at increasing one for everyone on that, increasing our fire hose, increasing our backpacks that carry the hose, and the packs that the firefighters carry their personal safety equipment in. So our portion, the overall grant countywide was $265,400. Our portion for us is $35,650, with us paying 10% of that, or just a little over $3,500. So that's the quick presentation. Again, staff is recommending that you accept the grant that's already been awarded by FEMA. I'll answer any questions.
Any questions for Keith? Councilmember Garola, do you have a question for Chief Garola?
The only question I have is, in the interim until this equipment is acquired, is there a possibility of utilizing any equipment that the Forest Service station has?
So if there's any question, or excuse me, is there any possibility of utilizing the equipment the Forest Service has? We do train with them intermittently. We do share equipment when each of the agencies get short on equipment. For example, we may hit a big brush fire and lay out 5,000 feet of hose. It could be damaged, we could be short, and we'll get temporary loan. The way the reimbursement works is usually who's ever responsible for the jurisdiction where the fire's at, they'll reimburse for any damage. But we do a lot of temporary loaning of equipment. So yes, that is accurate. We do have the ability to get equipment from the Forest Service on a temporary basis.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay, and just to clarify, I was asking that to make sure that we had the ability to use that kind of equipment until we receive the new equipment.
Yes.
Thank you.
No question, really, just a comment that, I've seen the, fire department improve and grow, and more programs coming out all the time. And, I think this is great that we have all of these, the opportunity for grant funding like this, and to, I think the more equipment that you're able to get funding for, the better. And, I certainly think it should be a priority, just as we make the Sheriff's Department or our law enforcement a priority, make our fire a priority, especially after having gone through the Thomas Fire and seeing what can happen. So I think this is great, pursuing it.
Thank you.
I do have a question, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. I saw in the report about the more likely to get these FEMA grants as you apply regionally. So just the question is that sort of an ongoing plan you have with other, with other departments across the county and, on a regular basis?
Yes, it is. Matter of fact, a couple of years ago, we were the recipient of a major grant for us, for the city, where we received the heart defibrillators and the monitors. That was part of a regional grant. So every year we collaborate, all the chiefs and our staff, we collaborate on what we should apply for on an annual basis, and for each agency, which would be the best item to take the lead on. Future items we're looking at is there's a CPR device called the Lucas device. I believe that's a trade name, and it's able to perform CPR on its own. Some of our personnel will be out here and they'll perform CPR for 20 minutes and have to rotate people through, and then they'll do another 20 minutes. And there's been periods of time where as long as the patient is viable, CPR will continue on for quite a while. And of course, it takes the toll on the individuals who are doing that. So that's one thing we're looking at in the future. We're looking at some more training for fire prevention, for inspections, ongoing body armor. There's a whole list of items that we'll apply for regionally, and it definitely is the best process. And again, as far as the county chiefs go, it's definitely a policy that we embrace and will continue to embrace.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Albert?
Thank you, Chief Girola. And I just wanted to say, I think that our public safety is, it's very important, and thank you for applying for these grants, and thank you for the good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was going to say, I remembered what fire shelter blankets were from Cal Poly, but I was going to ask, do you happen to know what the lifespan on those? I mean, how long they're good for? I mean,
right. So each variation that comes out, and there's different variations that come out over the years, and it depends on how they're stored. There is a shelf life, whether they're used or not used, and again, it varies with the technology. The early versions were not modified, and they really should have been exchanged out every 5 years, but it had been probably a lot longer than that before the next version came out. The next version did have a shelf life, probably about 10 years, and the new version that we're looking at now, I believe, has a shelf life of at least 10 years. So it depends on the technology.
Okay.
The earlier ones tended to degrade a lot easier. Just taking from point A to point B, just moving the container kind of just as you would aluminum, rubbing aluminum,
Right.
it tends to degrade.
Okay, all right, thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll motion that city staff recommends city council approve the acceptance of FEMA fiscal year 2021 AFG grant.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, do you want to?
I'm delayed. Carrie got it.
Okay, you'll get the second, Chris. Can you take a roll call vote?
Councilmember Mendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Brogy,
Yes.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Villasenor,
Yes.
and Councilmember Girola.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We're going to move on to item number 8H, Fillmore Boys Club Roof Supplemental 01 Work Order Package for Sourcewell Construction Agreement for Fillmore Boys and Girls Club Windows and Roofs.
Good evening again. So tonight, this item is for supplemental work to a contract that was issued in July for the rest of the roof reconstruction and the windows. But in connection with that roofing project, the City of Fillmore entered into a contract on the 28th day of October for asbestos survey services, and that survey report was delivered on December 5th by the consultant. The results of that survey indicated that 2 samples collected tested positive for asbestos. Most of all the samples tested negative. However, the following materials were found to contain greater than 1% of asbestos, and therefore are regulated under the federal, state, and local regulations. The black roofing mastics located on the west and east lower flat roof sections, electrical and pipe penetrations, with a total of approximately 100 square feet noted. This is a Category 1 non-friable material in fair condition. All other roofing materials on the pitched and flat sections included shingle layers tested negative for asbestos. The asbestos recommendations per the report identified the ACM that will be disturbed as part of the roofing replacement activities will be handled in accordance with applicable regulations. Disturbance activities will be performed only by trained and licensed professionals, and that's actually part of the the requirements triggered by the amount of asbestos removal. And as well, there is a requirement that for notification, they require notification for removal of friable regulated asbestos, which exceeds 100 square feet, which is not the case, but it does trigger it because it requires notification for all demolition projects, and this would be a demolition project. So we're asking for, staff is recommending the approval of the supplemental work order for asbestos removal and direct staff to reallocate ARPA funds in the amount of $28,869.97 for the asbestos removal.
Okay, any questions for staff? Councilmember Garola, do you have any questions?
What is the planned time frame to execute the work?
They could get started, pretty quickly here, and the time frame is a matter of a few days, weeks maybe.
Okay, and there would be minimal disruption to the Boys and Girls Club?
Correct. No more disruptive than the removal of the roof and the windows.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make that motion to approve the Fillmore Boys and Girls Club roof supplemental number 01 work order package for the window and roof contract in the amount of $28,869.97.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor? Wait a minute. Will you do a roll call vote?
Councilmember Mendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Brogy,
Yes.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Villasenor,
Yes.
and Councilmember Garola.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 8J, review and approval of the contract for the 2023 3rd of July Community Fireworks Show to be provided by Pyro Spectaculars, Inc.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members again. So I'm here to present the request to approve the contract for our 2023 fireworks show. Erica may help me here if we have any particular details, but a little history, I guess, before I get into some of the financials. So we used to have a vendor that was really during the period of time gave us a good show for a great dollar amount, big, basically big bang for our buck, right? And then when COVID hit, I believe that was the 2020 show. There was no 2020 show. During that time frame, there was a few fireworks distributors, or not distributors, vendors that continued to do some shows. The State Fire Marshal took a big look, since they had kind of a year off, to look at the entire fireworks process. During that time, our previous vendor his license was not renewed. We started immediately looking for vendors for the following year, for 2021. A big search of the big name brand vendors that do the shows in Southern California. And we were able to find a vendor. Most vendors said, we can't do it. We just don't have the pyrotechnicians, the people who actually are licensed to do the shoots. Those those individuals are limited, and they go for the big money, the big shoots at the big venues. We were able to find a vendor, though, Pyro Spectacular, that was able to accommodate us, but it was for July 3rd. That was 2 years ago. So for 2021, 2022, we've had our show on July 3rd. I believe it's been well received by the public as far as the aerial display. It's been one of the top notch. I've heard nothing but praise over this vendor and the show that they have given us here at the City of Fillmore. Obviously, we know that the big aerial display is something that's Fillmore's been accustomed to. We do have the smaller illegal displays, but there's nothing like the large 3 and 4 inch mortar rounds that go off. We do have the agreement in front of you. It's a cost of $25,795. It has been vetted by legal and by our staff. We are, again, looking at the one-time show. It's usually about a 20-minute show. And again, we're looking at the council approving the amount of $25,795 for the July 3rd, 2023 fireworks show. And then if you do authorize that, then the city manager will execute the contract with Pyro Spectaculars. We do have a historical means of recuperating some of the costs. Historically, our 2 major fireworks vendors who provide the nonprofits with the ground displays, they usually show their appreciation to the city by contributing, by donating different amounts over the years. Again, prior to COVID, their donations, along with the Fillmore and Western, used to basically cover the majority of the costs, almost 100% of the costs, along with some of the fees that are charged to fireworks booths. We'll continue to pursue those donations and continue to use some of the fees that the fireworks nonprofits pay for the chance of having their booths. So there will be an offset. I don't know the exact amount, but historically it won't be the 100%, but I think we're probably looking at least 2/3, maybe even closer to the majority of it. So that's what we're asking the city to approve that contract and let the city manager execute that contract.
Any questions for Keith?
I do have a question. Oh.
Go ahead.
Okay. I understand about the lack of pyrotechnicians for July 4th. So just want to make sure it's a question of the personnel available, not the amount of funding.
Correct.
Okay.
And so Pyro Spectacular, we spoke with them. They talked to their board. We were, right after the July 3rd of this past year, I reached out to them and I said, any possibility we can get on the 4th? And so continue to be in contact with their president. He offered a Zoom call. We met. And then he's like, well, there might be a chance. Let me go talk to my board. The issue comes also that there's been cities that have been doing business with them for years. And so we at one point were doing business with them. And then after that, we went to the other vendor who's no longer licensed, and then they took us back. So like anything else, seniority takes over. And so, it wasn't because of lack of efforts, it's just they don't have the personnel who's licensed to be able to provide that. We reached out to other vendors as well, and the same response was, we can offer you a July 3rd. Unfortunately, we're booked for the 4th. We don't have enough operators. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
That was my question and issue as well. I heard from a lot of the community members over the last couple of years about doing it on the 3rd. Mm-hmm. And it is what it is, and if we don't have a vendor to do it on the 4th, then I just want to be able to communicate this in a way to the citizens as to why we are doing it on the 3rd rather than the 4th. But especially the at least 3rd year in a row.
Right. I mean, we've struggled with this for a couple years. We had no choice the last couple years. It sounds like we don't really have a choice this year. But I asked Erica, will she stay on them again to maybe we can get it next? we got to keep hitting him up. I meant,
Of course, and his name is Chris.
in case we all want to call him.
Not, Chris, not council member.
What's his name?
Not council member Garola, but his name's Chris Souza. He's really good, and he knows. And I will continue trying to see if next year we have a priority to be on the 4th or not. But every time they probably see me calling, they're like, "Uh-oh, here she comes.
Yeah,
She's
but
calling again about the same thing."
One of these years, you're going to sneak in. I meant. Councilmember Garola, do you have any questions?
I'll echo the same sentiments from the other council members. It's unfortunate that we're not able to have a 4th of July show. I do think we should move forward because I don't think that there's a good chance of us arranging this relatively last minute. But I would also like to just ask staff if it's possible to even put this out for a bid. I have no idea if that's been approached before, to say, hey, the 4th of July only, and see if we get any bites through any other bid systems. I have no idea. But I think we got to start thinking outside of our usual connections to see what's out there.
I'd throw that at the city and see if that's an option. I meant just something to explore.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, I don't know if Erica knows this or not, the answer to this, but how many approximate companies are out there that, there can't be that many?
There's not that many, and then you run into the issue of those that don't operate in California,
Right.
and so then you're kind of running a risk because you don't know whether they're licensed or not. And so after we had the experience with the previous vendor, we have a contact now with the fire marshals, and so we make sure that before we explore this new vendor that they were licensed so that we wouldn't go through the same process that we went in 2020. And I mean, to the defense of Pyro Spectacular, they provided us the service about 2 months before the fireworks show. And so they came in, they stepped in, no one else wanted to give us that opportunity, and they did make miracles for us that year. So, but we can look at it next year and see if there's any other alternative options as well.
I'm sorry you'd be put in this. You've been put in this thing over and over and over. I meant it's the same thing every year. I meant I hate to say that, but well, we have the other option, like Keith said. At least we'll get to see another show on the 4th. We won't be able to stop everybody in the city. I mean, we'll get
Two
more
shows
than
in a row?
our share of shows.
I mean, I do.
Well, maybe our new chief will that'd be his issue, but.
I mean, I do have to say that, I mean, looking at the cost of this, for $25,795, it might be a small amount for a fireworks show, but when you say it lasts about 20 minutes, it's like we're putting a match to $25,795 and it's gone. I don't know. Okay, but it is what it is. Okay.
Yep. And with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I'll be the one to say the number out loud.
Well, whoever does second will.
Yes. I'll make that motion then to approve the appropriation of $25,795,000 for the 2023 July 3rd Community Fireworks Show, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement with Pyro Spectaculars, Inc.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Would you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Mendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Brogy,
Yes.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Villaseñor,
Yes.
and Councilmember Garola.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item number 8J, HVAC maintenance contract, ACO Engineering Systems, City Hall. I think that's how you say it.
ACO
ACO.
Engineered Systems, yes. Good evening again, City Council. The city currently has an agreement with ACO Engineered Systems to install 16 new air conditioning units on the roof of City Hall. That work is already getting started. We met with the group today. They're going to come back next week, start doing the thermostats, and then February 4th and 5th, I think, is the date for the install of those air conditioning units. This item is for the maintenance on those units. So even though they're new units, they need regular maintenance, filter change outs, and just making sure that everything is working functional. And so the same company, ACO, is providing us a quote for the maintenance for 4 years. That the maintenance on this is for a 4-year period, and it is all inclusive of changing out the filters, the amount of hours and time, and so we're looking for that authorization of that to be funded for $45,360.28.
Any questions for Troy?
I do have a question. On the funding of the $45,000 out of ARPA, just a question, is this being taken from ARPA funds that have already been allocated, or is this from unused ARPA funds? Just wanted to be clear.
We'll reallocate it. We have funding set aside around $150,000 for City Hall.
Okay.
And so we'll take it out of there and take a look at what we could do for that. We're doing a bit on some brickwork right now, so we should be able to pull that without a major impact. And this is very important.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Garola, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay. No questions. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion? Okay, I will recommend that we approve the supplemental funding and approving an agreement for the HVAC maintenance with ACO Engineered Systems in the amount of $45,360.28.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Will you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Mendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Brogy,
Yes.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Villaseñor,
Yes.
and Councilmember Garola.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Move on to item number 8K, consideration of ordinance 29946 to update the portions of the city's purchasing regulations in Fillmore's Municipal Code 2.60 to increase the city manager's contracting authority, finding of exemption from CEQA.
Thank you, Mayor. The Fillmore Municipal Code, Chapter 2.60, Purchasing, sets forth the city's purchasing procedures for supplies, goods, and services of the city. This chapter also provides the city manager signature authority to execute professional consultant and special services contracts in the amount not to exceed $10,000 currently. Otherwise, the code subjects any contract for goods and services over $5,000 to go through a formal bidding process. For purposes of this presentation, I would like to specify that we are not suggesting or requesting council to change that will remain the same. The only thing that we are coming forward tonight is asking you to consider changing the current purchasing authority that the city manager has from $10,000 to a minimum of $25,000 or whatever you would like to set tonight. The cities that we are compared to in Ventura County that are similar sizes to us are Ojai, Moore Park, and Santa Paula. Ojai right now has that purchasing authority set at $30,000. Moore Park and Santa Paula have it at $50,000. It is not uncommon for the city manager to have a purchasing authority within other jurisdictions to anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000. It helps the city's operations to become efficient so that things that have to be approved for the regular operations can move forward and have that approval from the city manager without us having to be set through an agenda process and bring that forward. So That concludes my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions.
Any questions for Erica? No? Gary, Albert?
Eric, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Gurrola.
Just for clarity for the public, any of these purchases up to the proposed $25,000 would be visible in the warrant register, usually from the following month. So any potential questionable use of those funds would be able to be caught by the City Council, just to alleviate any concerns of raising the purchasing authority. Is that correct?
That is correct.
If I could also.
Okay, so there's still plenty of accountability.
If I could also add, the code requires, the code says that the city manager can only sign contracts for things that are in the budget. Otherwise, if an appropriation is needed, it would need to come to council.
Right.
So it's something that in the budget process, the council agreed was appropriate. Thank you.
Maybe this question goes to Dave. Dave, how many, just to kind of a clarification, has there been issues where, let's say it was something for $27,000 that ended up being kicked to us? I mean, would it be advantageous to increase it for you? I'm just asking, how much of an issue does it cause you? 25 to 30 to 30, I meant.
Yeah, we bring a number of them together. Erica put together a list, so she has them on her. Some of the recruiting aspects we're going through recently, we've got about 10 or 11 within the past year that we had to bring back to City Council. We'll have, Eric has a list, I believe.
So I have a few examples, and I went through a list of things that could have been approved. So example is a recruitment agency, there was a grant writing services agreement, accounting services agreement, there was a traffic control study, a sales tax consulting agreement, there was a plan check and project management service agreement, and a sidewalk assessment. Those were, in addition to some other services, were anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000, just to give you a ballpark.
Okay. So I'm just trying to think about how much does it take. I mean, we have work to do. So is this stuff that we're just going to increase? I'm just asking the council. Is this stuff we want to increase it a little bit for them, beyond the 25,000, or what? I mean, just as an example.
I was thinking personally, I was going to bring that up. I think it would be advantageous to raise it a little bit, just in the interest of being more efficient.
What, 10,000, 20? I mean, how much are you thinking?
I was thinking 30
to 30,000.
Okay, I was thinking $10,000 to $15,000 more.
That's what I was thinking.
I was thinking about $40,000.
Maybe 40,000. I'm thinking 40,000. Is everybody okay with that? Or do you want to go to 35? I mean, I'm just saying, if it's stuff that's come to us and it was just that was going to be approved anyway, maybe we take some things off our stuff so we can concentrate on what's really important.
Yeah. And staff's time to prepare the staff report and bring it forward. And
I concur. I think 40 is a reasonable number. Carrie?
I'm good with that.
What was that?
I'm good with that.
With what?
40.
Are you okay with 40,000, Councilmember Gurrola?
40,000 might seem a little high, only because the staff brought forth 25. So I think they've probably done an assessment of what their needs are and our rate of the ability to approve anything above that. For example, I believe the fireworks display would be something then that Dave would be able to contract without our input, correct?
If I can answer that, since my office prepared the report. Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
I meant, I
was just going to say.
I wasn't talking to you.
Okay. We came up with the 25 just as like an initial step because it's been 10 for so long. And we are working on an overhaul of the entire chapter. And at that time, we were going to recommend more. But if you're willing to do it now, I think that would help for all the reasons that you've all talked about. There are a lot between, 25 and 50.
And if I may too, so there's certain things like the fireworks show, to Councilmember Gurrola's point, yes, it would be within, Manager Rowland's authority to approve it. However, we know this is an important event that comes forward to the community. So that would be one of those staff reports that we most likely would bring forward, because it's important for the community to be aware that we're bringing that forward and inform the community of how we're spending those funds. And so.
Okay, well, we're
And if I can
if
add
we
to
can
that.
still go 40, or we can go, I'm just saying, I believe it should be more than 25,000.
And I'm fine with 40, but to
Okay.
Erica's point, if it is something that entails, the expenditure entails things that would impact the city or impact, I'm trying to think of other examples besides the fireworks show, but where it's not just an immediate purchase for someone to come in and fix the roof or something. If it involves the community, if it involves, extenuating issues or whatever. And I'm trying to think of it.
If I could, and to speak for Dave a little bit too, politically, he's not going to stick his neck out. If it's not something that he knows all the council's in favor of, he's not going to do it. And if it's something like the fireworks show, something that you want to draw the public's attention to,
Right.
you would put it on the agenda. The same way that we don't put everything on consent that can be on consent, sometimes we put things on new business so that it can be announced and it can be publicly, discussed. If anyone's watching and wants to know, the contracts would be treated the same.
Yeah, okay, I'm good with that.
Okay, with that, I'll propose, I would think 40,000 is fine with me. With that, I'll entertain a motion for an amount, and we'll move this forward.
Are you making the motion?
What?
Sure.
I'm not making the motion.
I'll make that motion. I'll put a motion on the floor that we approve the first reading to introduce ordinance 23-946, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Fillmore, updating portions of the city's purchasing regulations in Fillmore Municipal Code, Chapter 2.60, to increase city managers' contracting authority, finding exemptions from CEQA, and that the city manager has an authority to process and execute agreements for city goods and services to a not to exceed amount of $40,000.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Would you do a roll call vote?
Councilmember Mendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Brogy,
Yes.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Villasenor,
Yes.
and Councilmember Garola.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we're going to move on to item number 9, committee, commissions, and board reports. Floor is open. None?
I have nothing.
And nothing to report yet on sanitation.
Okay. Albert?
I have nothing.
Okay.
Wait,
Oh,
I'm looking at you, Christina.
she said she
Do
had
you wanna-
nothing.
Oh, nothing to report on sanitation.
Sanitation district.
Do you want to talk about the,
Sure. On the VCTC?
yeah, the meeting that you went to?
Oh, okay, great. Sure, I'll report out on that. The Ventura County Transportation Committee held last week an unmet needs meeting here in Fillmore. They're looking for more engagement, and so they may be having some more meetings here in Fillmore in the future, and so we'll keep the public apprised of that. One thing that I did learn that came out of the meeting is, and this has been an unmet need in Fillmore that has been brought to the attention of the commission for many years, many previous years, and the commission has taken into account. Around August, late summer, early fall, they will begin a bus route from Fillmore to Moore Park and back. So that's the first time that there'll be public transit that will be going through Grimes Canyon. And given that, they really need to have a lot of public who know about it, who are engaged about it. And so, like I said, VCTC will be reaching out and hopefully doing some public meetings through nonprofits here in town and through other community organizations to engage the community. And they really want a robust rollout and participation. So I'll be keeping an update, and so will Councilmember Brogy.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to item number 10, City Council reports, recommendations, and comments. Okay. Seeing nothing, I'm going to move to item number 11, City Manager.
Sorry. I do have one. I would like, given our comments about the pool earlier, I would like to see if I can have council support staff looking into working with the school district and looking at lap swim times that may be available from now until we've got to close the pool for the new contract.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay. You, Councilmember Garola, you okay with that? I mean,
Yeah, I have a recommendation as well. I don't know if I can add it or if it would be separate.
okay. We can, if it's applicable to that, you might as well add it. If it's not, then we'll do a new.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I would like to see if we do pursue any costs to transport anyone to another pool, that we would look to split that cost with the school district, especially since we're heavily favoring their sports event.
I would agree with that. Everybody okay?
I'm on
with
board
that?
with,
Okay.
with the researching that for sure.
Okay. So you got that, Dave? Okay. Then we'll move on to item number 11, City Manager verbal report.
I just want to welcome, Chief.
Yeah.
Just want to let the public know it wasn't a walk-in and then here's our chief. We had 3 individuals.
I was going to go down and meet him after.
Yeah, we had 3 individuals who applied for the position. The sheriff specifically asked captains who wanted to come and actually work here in Fillmore. We got 3 highly qualified candidates. We had an internal staff panel. We also had external panel. We had a social event for them all, put them through the grinder before. And Chief came out in top on every event, did a great job. The people behind him were unbelievable. We had we're very, very privileged and lucky and blessed. We've had some unbelievable chiefs out here, and he has some big shoes to fill. But I'm looking forward to working with you and again, having the Spanish language be great out here in Fillmore. One more added benefit to us this year. So again, welcome. Looking forward to working with you, and welcome to the family. And that's all I have.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to item number 12, closed session. We're going into closed session. The City Council will conduct a closed session because the city is considering whether to initiate litigation in one case. We'll go to closed session. I don't know how Councilmember Garola is. You guys, okay. We'll call you in a couple seconds, Councilmember Garola.
Okay, I'm going to drop.
Okay, the council met in closed session. There are no reportable action. We adjourn the meeting until our next regularly scheduled meeting of Tuesday, February 14th at 6:30. Meeting adjourned.